nearly at the end of chapter 6. The law of the land. The other great edifice of this time, though not in a physical sense, was church law. Centralising power in the Pope, it meant that, legally speaking, all roads led to Rome. If you wanted plans approved, proposals rubber-stamped, or to be appointed emperor, you had to go to Rome and fill in the forms, as it were. Monastery being interfered with by your bishop? Go to Rome. Want your marriage annulled? Go to Rome. Have you been involved in some kind of ecclesiastical accident? Call Pope direct. As the Church gained more and more secular power, its law became more and more important. In the 12th century, the Church's law was codified and organised by a monk called Gratian, and it's no coincidence that all the popes between 1159 and 1303 were experts in canon law. This meant increased bureaucracy in Rome. There was a large staff of functionaries, and the same form of centralised administration was replicated further down, with bishops having their own administrators and civil service. And this in turn meant that the emphasis of the Church switched away from monasteries and towards the parishes, because they could be more directly controlled by the central hierarchy. Of course, all this administration had to be paid for, so the Church promoted its own tax. No one could deny that the practice of tithing, the Old Testament practice of the priests taking a tenth of everyone's produce, was scriptural. So the Church picked this up and happily gold-plated it. Literally. Curiously, it was less keen to endorse other practices from the same part of the Bible, such as circumcision. But pastors, preachers, and televangelists have been bigging up tithing ever since. The other strange thing was that the tax was imposed much more readily on ordinary working folk than on the old aristocratic families. But then, the ordinary working folk didn't have soldiers. Highly regarded Hildegard. Mysticism was common currency in this period. In all places, but especially in the convents and the monasteries, there were men and women seeking to be lifted out of the earthly realm, which, given that the earthly realm was smelly, cold, and generally covered in mud, was hardly surprising. Hildegard of Bingen, 1098 to 1179, was both a mystic and a highly respected intellectual, who became the correspondent of a pope, an emperor, and Bernard of Clairvaux. She produced a vast range of works, including hymns, plays, theology, and several hundred letters. Her first vision came when she was just 3 years old. "I saw such a light that my soul trembled," she said. "But because I was an infant, I could say nothing of these things." She would experience a fiery light of exceeding brilliance, so that suddenly she knew the meaning of the exposition of the Scriptures. But this example shows us why mysticism was also suspect. It was a shortcut to God, bypassing the clergy and the sacraments. It's a sign of Hildegard's gifts that she was allowed to remain an abbess and even preach to male clerics. And she had harsh words for monks enveloped in the blackness of acrid smoke because of their habitually foul behaviour. She warned that the Church would have to renew itself or be stripped of its wealth and power. Eventually, of course, she had to be silenced. A year before her death, her convent was put on special measures. The local bishop withheld Mass from her and her sisters. For the establishment, leniency has to have limits, even for a prophetess like Hildegard. Here endeth chapter 6.